I will vote for Donald Trump. ¿Qué? I am no criminal. I am no criminal.
I'm Hispanic and I vote for Mr. Trump. We vote for Mr. Trump. Yes, Mr. Trump. We love you all the way to the White House.
Beyond betrayed. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that it was not going to touch the documented people.
Oh my goodness. So we've all seen, as far as the inhumane ICE immigration crackdown that's going on. You know, they just taking everybody, citizen, illegal immigrant, doesn't matter. They just harassing everybody. Now, one thing I am proud to report on is that there is one person, one brave woman who is in the Republican Party and is standing up against this inhumane treatment of people, bro, of people. And that her name is Ileana Garcia, okay? And I just want, what?
Hi, I'm Ileana Garcia, and I founded Latinos for Trump on the premise of how important it was for me to convey to the rest of the world that there are a lot of Latinos and Latinas supporting Donald J. Trump.
Well, this is awkward. This is what you voted for, boo-boo. What are we talking about? You had a whole campaign, freaking Latinos for Trump. What are we talking about? Now, the comedy is she's coming out talking about, you know what, they've gone too far. They're going to lose the midterms. You know what? I'm scared now for my son being pulled over. That right there, bruh. Okay, it's the same thing we saw with Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she's talking about, well, my sons won't be able to get a house. That right there, bruh. Ooh. These people, and I pray, okay, if you're an atheist, I would hope that you just are temporarily a person of faith, that we can both be in agreement that there is a hell for these people, that there is a special place in hell for these people. Because this is what I've talked about countless times, that these people don't care. They don't care until it impacts them. Unfortunately, that's most of Americans. Nobody cares until it impacts you. It comes at your doorstep. So while all these people were getting rounded up, while American citizens were being detained, okay, for no reason other than they suspect that you may not be here legally, when all that was going on, this woman didn't care, okay? She had Latinos for Trump, had no qualms about it. But now she's talking about, I'm afraid my son may get arrested or my son may be detained. Now she wants to come up and talk about, oh, this is horrible. Now you want to say something.
Come on now, dog.
Over the course of the last weekend or so, when Petty was deceased, now you want to talk about, oh, they've gone too far and yada, yada, yada. What? Huh? What you talking about? They've gone too far. This is the type of bull crap. These are the type of people that do not need to be anywhere near a position of power because they are political whores. They are power whores. That's what they are. They don't have a problem, grabbing their ankles if they mean they can get a little bit of a kickback.
How many Latinos, your people, voted for Trump? Could you believe that? I was like, yeah. I got cousins who want to deport other cousins. They don't care about politics. They really don't. They're like, Julian has to go. No. He no work. He lazy. If he work with your cousin social security number. No. Se va, se fue. Build that wall. Let's go. I build the wall. Even though Julian was born in New Jersey.
To the Latinos that voted for him, you will never, and I repeat, never be white. You will never be accepted as one of them, and you certainly are not exempt from the racism that is this racist-ass regime. When that lady put in her post, alligators' lives matter, and she mentioned a number, that number being 65 million. Do you know how many Latinos are in the United States? Approximately 65 million, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Approximately 60 plus million people. So guess what? They weren't just talking about the illegal immigrants, because data actually says that there are 10 to about 12 illegal undocumented folks in the United States. They're talking about you. They're talking about people like us. Because we are not exempt from the racism that is rooted in what these people believe in, and frankly, the foundation of this country that was built on the stealing of land from indigenous people by immigrants that came here from Europe. But when you think that you are better than an immigrant because your family came here the right way, remember that this land was actually stolen from day one. So when you think that you are better because you're second generation or third generation because you've been an American for a longer amount of time, I hope that you never have to experience a time where you have to flee a country for your own safety or that of your family. So when you think that you are somehow not going to be affected by any of this, when you think that you don't have to care, what happens if you are next? What happens if it's someone that you personally know? And I know already because we've seen it. We've seen the clips of people that supported him, diehard supporters that are now crying on the news because their family members are getting deported and they thought that they would never be impacted. You see, in this country, so many people lack empathy. They are unwilling or somehow unable to think beyond themselves, and then we run into these situations. Wake up. The proximity to whiteness isn't serving you and it's not serving the community. You have to recognize what is happening because ultimately they're not just going after criminals. And all of this is connected to so many things that impact our community and frankly are holding us back, like anti-blackness and colorism and internalized racism. And if you think that these are woke words, look them up and you will realize what exists, what has existed in our community for a very long time. And I say all of this because there are so many people that have fallen to the false prophets of the world, and I need us as a community to come together and wake up.
To vote against your own family, I'm in shock. I'm numb right now. Against your own terminally ill, out of status dad.
So this is going to be directed specifically to my Trump Latinos of all kinds. Okay, let's just get something clear. I stand by Biden when he said that the garbage that Trumpy has are exactly that. That's what you followers are. Garbage. Let me see if I can help you out in Spanish. Ustedes son fucking basura. Basura. Okay? And that's from a Latina woman to another Latin person. Because if you stand by that person knowing that he just disrespected your island, yes, one more time, that's what you are. You is garbage. So don't sit there, come, the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and then you want to be like, ruh, 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 for your people, when you don't stand for your people, when you need to stand for your people right now. So I stand with what he said. And I am 100% in agreement to that. Because if you could vote for a person like that, well, you're speaking volumes, sweetheart. And at the end of the day, you could try to want to be white, but you will never be white. Not now, not ever. I don't care how much money you make. You will never be white.
I just want to say something to the Latino population who keeps coming to TikTok and saying, calling out Americans and specifically Black Americans and being like, why aren't you guys standing up for us? We did it in Black Lives Movement. As an Afro-Latino, myself, we have to hold accountability for our actions. 60% of our people voted for that guy. Voted for these deportations. Many of your family members voted for this guy, even though they knew you were maybe LGBTQ, maybe you were trans, maybe you had HIV, maybe you depended on scholarships because now you want to get rid of the border education, went to public school, right? Were undocumented, right? All of these reasons. Knowing this guy is literally the representation of white supremacy. The KKK supported this guy. he released the Project 2025 a whole year before the election. And we sat down, we told you what was gonna happen, and you still chose this guy. Okay? Just because he has conservative beliefs, the ones that your grandma and your parents were taught in Latin America, how did that work out for us? How much family trauma do we have for these conservative beliefs in South America and Latin America? A lot, right? A lot. So anytime we speak about liberalism, you know, everybody should have access to healthcare. Everybody, you know, should not be able to be discriminated against based on the color of his skin or his race, even if they have the same qualifications as their white counterpart. Like, is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? I don't think so. But going back to the main topic of Latinos asking Black Americans to stand up for them and help them, and Black Americans are like, you chose that, you know, that is your battle. I approve that message. I approve it. I know I might get flagged for saying this, but it's true. As Latinos, we need to take accountability for our actions. And yes, not all of us voted for that guy, but we need to address the ones that did, call them out, and correct and revalue ourselves. Because just because you do not agree with, I don't know, reproductive rights or the LGBTQ community, which Kamala Harris did, right? Maybe because you don't agree with that, doesn't mean that this other guy does. Right? Doesn't mean that he's a better option for you, because remember, you're still a person of color. And I know a lot of you light-skinned Latinos or white Latinos who, you know, honestly, you're not white American passing. And even if you are and you have an accent like mine, as soon as you open that mouth, you're done. You're done. So I just want to let you guys know that we need to do something. And there's no one else to blame than us.
If you're a Latina Trump supporter, aka Chickens for Chick-fil-A, you do not get to come to God's internet and complain about being racially profiled at Trader Joe's. Because the administration that you voted for and that you support actually went to the Supreme Court and got the Supreme Court to legally allow ICE to racially profile people in order to make arrests or to detain them. So if your feelings are so hurt from being racially profiled at Trader Joe's, imagine the feelings of the individuals who are being racially profiled by federal agents, arrested, and taken to detention centers. Latinas for Trump are only Latinas when it's convenient for them, when it makes them feel special, when it makes them feel exotic, when they want people to fetishize them. But when it comes to being in the voting booth, all of a sudden they're not Latina anymore. No hablo español. I'm an American. You want to speak Spanish when it's convenient for you and it makes you seem exotic and spicy and fiery, but you don't vote in favor to protect the Spanish language and Hispanics. You don't vote to advance and better nor to protect your community. Under Trump's administration, there has been multiple accounts of ICE agents going and arresting and detaining and taking Puerto Ricans to detention centers. Now, she probably wasn't paying attention to the discourse surrounding Bad Bunny when he was performing at the halftime show at the Super Bowl, because she was probably too busy watching the Kid Rock show, and I can only make that assumption because this is her following list. And because she turned off her repost and refused to tell people who she voted for and simply just wants to dance around the question. But during that discourse, it was made very well known that Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. Yes, we're U.S. citizens because we are currently being occupied by the United States government. So when we are born, we are given citizenship status immediately. Yet, what did I say? Puerto Ricans are being picked up, arrested, and detained and taken to detention centers? Why? I wonder why. Because ICE is allowed to legally racially profile. They look brown like me. They speak Spanish and they're doing it in public. Maybe they have an accent like my father. Just this past year alone, ICE was sitting by the dozens in vehicles outside of a museum in Humboldt Park, Chicago. Shout out to my birth neighborhood. Beautiful Humboldt Park. It is the Puerto Rican neighborhood of Chicago. And yet they're sitting outside of a Puerto Rican museum for what? Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. Because these discriminatory and racial profiling tactics have been legalized, allowed, and normalized under the administration that you supported, the one that you voted for. Therefore, I do not care. I do not want to hear you complain about being racially profiled at a Trader Joe's when federal agents are out here ruining the lives of and racially profiling Latinos and Hispanics all around the country. The leopard finally ate your face, and to that I say good.
I am in so much shock with the amount of Latinos for Trump that are now coming out saying we feel so backstabbed, we feel so betrayed, we feel used now that our families are being deported even though they're not criminals. You didn't feel that way when Donald Trump was talking about the Mexican families that he was going to be deporting. You didn't feel that way when he spoke about other minority groups that he was going to be deporting. But now that it's affecting your family, your uncle, your cousin, now you want to cry about it? Now you want to cry crocodile tears? Girlfriend, I don't feel bad for you.
They thought it would never happen to them until it did. A moment of silence. And subscribe to this channel. So I have learned that politics has a way of becoming very personal. It is easy to cheer for a policy when you think it's going to affect another person, and it's completely a different story when the same policy knocks on your own door. And that is what we are seeing. People becoming so emotional. And these emotional stories are coming out of the parts of the Latino community. People who proudly supported Donald Trump are now saying they feel betrayed because immigration enforcement is affecting their own families, friends, and neighborhoods. So, my question is simple. What exactly did they think was going to happen? Because from where I am sitting, not even standing, this wasn't some hidden agenda that suddenly appeared after election. Immigration was one of the biggest campaign issues. Mass deportation wasn't whispered behind closed doors. They were talked about it openly. The promises were repeated at rallies, in interviews, across social media. Whether people agreed with those proposals or hated them, nobody can honestly say they didn't know immigration enforcement was central to the campaign. Maybe at some point they thought it was the black immigrants, like let's say Africans. They thought it was the Africans. So sad. It's not like I am celebrating somebody's pain. This conversation is not about mocking families that are hurting. It is about what happens when political slogans becomes more important than reality, because reality doesn't care who you voted for. Government policies doesn't stop at your front door and ask, who did you vote for? And then you are like, I will vote. Oh, I voted for Donald Trump. It simply gets enforced. The government policy gets enforced. That's the lesson that many people are learning the hard way now. Some Latinos now say they believed only undocumented people with criminal records would be targeted. Others believe that legal residents, documented immigrants, or some citizens in Hispanic communities had nothing to worry about. Some thought that because they had supported the administration, they would somehow be viewed differently, but the government enforcement does not work based on political loyalty. If policies are written broadly, they can affect many people in ways supporters may not have expected. That's why some families now say they feel shocked. Not because immigration enforcement exists, but because they never imagined it could touch the people they personally know. And that's where they made the biggest mistake. Too many people confuse political marketing with political reality. Campaigns are designed to win votes. Once law and enforcement begin, they operate according to the legal authority, not personal expectation. That's why some Latino communities now report increased fear. People describe being questioned because of their appearance, their accents, and their Hispanic last name. Some say they feel watched in places where they once felt comfortable. Whether every reported case is the result of the official policy or individual mistake, the fear itself has become part of their daily lives. Another issue that is creating concern is the birthright citizenship. Discussion about changing citizenship rules have created anxiety, especially among the Puerto Rican communities and others worried about how future legal changes could affect their children. While many of those proposals face legal and constitutional challenges, the debate alone has left many families uncertain about what the future could hold. And uncertainty has a way of changing how people see politics, because politics stop being stop becoming entertainment when your own family becomes part of the story. So let's talk about what has created the tension. Many Black Americans have responded with very little sympathy. Some people think that's the cost they are paying. Others think that they are cold. Others think that it's accountability. The argument goes like, we want you. People point out that immigration enforcement wasn't hidden during the campaign. The publicities were public, the speeches were public, and the advertisement was public. So when now some voters say, I didn't think it would affect us, the response from many critics are saying, but it was right there in front of you. And that is creating frustration, especially among people who believe they spent years warning others about racial profiling, discrimination, and unequal treatment. From their perspective, those warnings were ignored until the consequences became personal. Some people say they supported immigration reform and stood alongside Latino communities on issues of justice, only to watch a significant number of Latino voters support policies they believed would ultimately hurt both communities. That has left some feeling that solidarity was not returned. Whether everyone shares their view or not, it helps to explain why reaction has been so divided. I don't believe anyone should celebrate another family suffering. Children don't deserve to live in fear because of the political choices the adults made. Families being separated is a serious human issue, regardless of political affiliation. But I also believe that voting carries responsibility. Every election has consequences. Sometimes those consequences, they help us, others, they hurt us, and some, they affect us in a way we never expected. It is not easy. Fear can influence votes. Economic concern can influence votes. Promise about inflation, job, and security can influence votes. People often vote based on issues they believe matters most on their lives. But if you only pay attention to the promises we like and ignore everything else being proposed, we shouldn't be surprised when the rest of the agenda arrives too. That is why this story is just big. It's bigger than immigration. It's about assumption, and it's about believing that policies aimed at one group will somehow stop before reaching your own community. History has shown that broad government powers has rarely stayed neatly contained. Once those powers exist, they can touch far more people than originally imagined. Maybe that's the reason we are here today. The lesson is that politics is not a sports team. Supporting a politician does not make you immune from the consequences of that politician's decisions. Loyalty isn't a legal exception. A campaign that hasn't given you a shield and a vote. A campaign hat is not a shield, and a vote doesn't come with a personal guarantee. The government doesn't ask you who stood in line at your rally. It enforces the law that are on the books, whether people support those laws or oppose them. So before any of us cast a ballot, now next time, we should ask ourselves this question: if these policies were applied exactly as written? Would I still support it if it affected my own family? Because that's the standard that matters. Now, whether we think we'll be the exception, history has a funny way of reminding people that exceptions are much rarer than they imagine. That is my perspective. What do you think? Were these voters genuinely misled, or did they underestimate the real world impact of the policies they supported? Share your thoughts in the comment sections, and let's keep this conversation respectful, and please subscribe to my channel.